Welcome to Wrestling with Success, the best and only podcast for the wrestlers of tomorrow. Please welcome your host, Nigel? Oh, right. Your host and future champion, Neil McMillan.
So, guys and girls, welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Success, and I have another amazing guest for you all today. Please let me introduce you to Miss All Red Everything, the current Dropkixx Women's Champion, the Wild Samoans, the Usos, Tamera and Superfly Snooker. She's related to none of them. The only person I know who doesn't like AJ Styles. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tammy time. It's Tamera. Tamera, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you very much. So, Tamera, let's kick things straight off. First off, tell us a little bit about you and how you got started in wrestling.
So it's actually kind of like a family thing for me because my mum used to train at Dropkixx back when John used to run it. So I kind of like had the link through there where I said, I want to do this. Like we used to go to the shows and watch Mark Hendry, my mum's partner, and he's currently on the shows as well. And we used to go and watch it, and I was like, you know what, I actually really want to give this a try. And she went, okay, let's go to Dropkixx and give it a go. And, so that's when I was just like, I just fell in love with it immediately. Like, I've never been one to actually carry out, like, going to, like, clubs and, like, hobbies and things like that. I always get really bored with Dropkixx, like, and just wrestling in general. I just loved it, and I just clicked with it immediately.
Good. And I suppose when you first went training as a woman, was there a lot of other women training with you at the time, or were you the only girl? Or
there was a girl called Brookie there, but I think she left like a month into me joining, so I was the only girl for a very, very long time, for a good 2 years over that. It was quite intimidating at first, but then I quite enjoyed being the only girl. I think for me, it was the fact that like training with guys, it kind of like toughened me up a little bit.
Yeah.
So instead of always going, here's this one girl that I'm going to stick with and train with the whole time, I've got to train with all the guys, and I've got to learn different styles and how the men wrestle, and it kind of like toughened me up. So then when I do go and face other women, I'm kind of like that little step ahead, and I'm a bit tougher because I'm used to being thrown around by men. So it's like, I think I quite enjoyed that.
And being a woman in such a very male-dominant like sport, what type of have you had any struggles that you've had to deal with, or that you still have to face, where it's just males all around you, or?
Yeah, it can get quite annoying at times because obviously there aren't as many places on the show for women as there are men. And there can often be times where it's like, oh, sorry, we can't have you because we don't do women's wrestling, or, oh, we don't have a spot for the women on this card. It can be like that occasionally. I mean, and of course I understand it because, like, not every promoter wants women's wrestling. Some promoters just don't really click with it, they don't really enjoy it, and that's perfectly fine. Everyone has a different vision of what wrestling is. But it can make it a struggle. And obviously there's the like kind of insecurities that come with it as well. Because women's wrestling can be very sexualised, as you may have noticed. And if you don't look a certain way, sometimes it's like, oh, well, you're not thick skinned, so we don't like the way you look, or you don't have big boobs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it can have its negatives, but at the same time I think that's also what makes me stand out, the fact that I am a woman in such a man's sport, and it can be such a positive because when you do look at Dropkixx and you see this one girl standing in a room full of guys training just as hard, it does make me stand out and just look even better.
Yeah. And so would you say that since the whole woman revolution thing with Charlotte, Bailey, Sasha, and everything that happened on NXT. Do you think that's helped? And it kind of encouraged women to get involved a little bit more?
100%. Oh yeah, definitely. I've seen such an improvement in the women's division of wrestling. It's crazy, because for such a long time it was like, oh, women can't wrestle, women aren't very good at this, women aren't strong enough, women are weak, pathetic. And as of late, since this whole women's revolution, it's been insane. The talent that's come out recently is unreal.
Very good. And so, new guys and girls who are looking to start, what kind of advice would you give someone who is a girl and she's worried about going to a club full of guys? What kind of advice would you give the girls and even the boys about starting out wrestling?
I'd say just train hard and just be open-minded to everything. I find that a lot of people who struggle are those who go in with such a set idea of what they want to do.
Yeah.
Because there are so many people who go in and go, I want to just do like hurricanranas and I want to do 450s and and they set their heart on just being able to fly around a ring and do this high-flying stuff, and they forget that things like chain are important. They forget about learning how to do the bumps and the rolls and all of that. They go in with like characters as well, and they're like, I want to do this. And a lot of people just shut out everything else, all other ideas, and that's where people often struggle, because they don't want to take advice from people. They don't want to try out new styles, because I find often that's what helps. Because originally I did want to go in and do high-flying stuff. I was like, yeah, I want to go in, I want to do flips, and it'd be so cool. Yeah. And then I found, oh, actually, that's not for me at all. Like, that's not my style. I don't stand out when it comes to flipping, because I'm not the most athletic person. But I'm better at more of the technical stuff, like the chain, and the flexibility is one of my strong points as well. And I think for those who want to try it out, I'd say just be open-minded and just take everything on board. And as for women who want to train amongst men, I'd say it's such a positive thing. It really is. It's intimidating at first, because you think, oh, I'm a woman and everyone's going to look at me, but it's honestly not like that. Like, especially like here at Dropkixx, they really take you in and they just want you to do well, and they treat you like one of them. They forget about your gender for a moment and just treat you as one of them, and they train you up so hard just to become just as equal and just as tough. And I really think just give it a go if you really want to. Really just give it a go.
It's good advice. It's good advice, and it's true what Tamera says as well about these guys coming in wanting to do flips and stuff. But I guarantee you they'll soon change their mind as soon as they take a 450 bump off the top rope onto a mat. They'll soon change their mind about becoming a high flyer for that. But so how long have you been how long have you been wrestling now, Tamera? All in all.
For about 2.5 years now.
Oh, right.
Yeah, 2.5 years, maybe just a bit more than that. I started December 2014.
Okay.
So this year will be 3 years. So, yeah, it's not too long, but long enough.
Yeah. I mean, when was your first show? Can you remember your first match live?
I cannot remember the date to save my life, but I know I trained for at least a year before I was on a show, and it was at our show in Brentwood.
Okay.
It was against Mark Hendry, the man I was saying that before, my mum's partner. It was against him in an intergender match, and he was actually a masked character called Dr. Danger at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my first match, and I think that was mainly because Mark is one of the most experienced guys you will ever meet. He's so good. He can do absolutely everything, and he was really good. He's really good at guiding people who are new to it. So my first match was against him because it was just he knew how to really guide me through the match and help me with the structure and
helped you through
help me when I was struggling. Yeah. Exactly, and he's a really good person to have first matches against because he really has that experience of guiding people along.
Okay. How do intergender matches get received? Do they get received well these days, or are people open-minded?
It's really mixed. It's very mixed. There are some people who say it's unrealistic and a woman could never beat a man in a match, etc. But I personally feel it depends on how you work that match.
Yeah. Because
obviously, of course, if I was to start throwing like around Jamie or Austin Hyde, as some people may know him, of course, like that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
Of course. But if I'm put with someone who's maybe a bit smaller than me, or even the same like height as me, which isn't many people because I'm quite short, but we work the match so that it does show that this person may be more strong than me, but I know tactically how to get around this person.
Yeah.
And I think that people often forget that if you work the match right, then it can work. It's just knowing how to structure that match and put it together so it does make sense.
Yeah, because I remember the China and Chris Jericho matches and some of the matches she had, and they were quite entertaining. And like you said, as long as they're done right, and it's not like you're not going to want the man to come out and just absolutely dominate the woman and pin her 1, 2, 3 straight away. So as long as it's done right, and it's a little bit more entertaining. In terms of who influenced you, I know you said your mum was doing wrestling at the time, but who else what kind of characters did you kind of resonate with, and who influenced you, and who made you want to become a wrestler?
Well, my favourite wrestler of all time will always be Eddie Guerrero. He was absolutely fantastic. He was just so good, and I don't think anyone could disagree with me on that. He was just absolutely incredible, and he was what kind of drew me into wrestling. Watching him and the way he moved and just everything he did was just perfection.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got me into wrestling. And woman-wise, I really liked Trish Stratus. She was someone who I really looked up to because she wasn't your average really skinny woman's wrestler who kind of like does the splits and tries to look sexy, which is what wrestling used to be for women.
Yeah.
And of course, she was incredibly sexy, Trish Stratus.
Just a little bit.
Make it about that. But of course, she didn't make it about that. Like, she knew how to wrestle. Like, she was good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a case of like, I'm going to use my sex appeal. It was a case of, do you know what? I'm going out there because I have an aim and I want to beat this person. And I loved watching her wrestle. She was absolutely incredible. I'd say she's one of the reasons I wanted to do wrestling as well.
So I mean, Tammy, well, I've recently found out from you this week that you like to ask the guest trainers who come in the same question every time. And seeing as you're a guest on this show, I think it's only fair that I ask you the exact same question. What is your favourite type of cheese?
My favourite type of cheese, and I know this is extremely boring.
Don't say cheddar.
Cheddar.
No! No, you can't say cheddar.
It is. It absolutely is. I love having cheddar cheese with crackers.
I was expecting like this really like out there
Sorry.
cheese, something a little bit different, but to be fair, who doesn't like cheddar?
I know,
Everyone
I'm
likes
so
cheddar.
sorry.
Everyone likes cheddar.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your take on halloumi? Halloumi's making some waves these days.
I do like halloumi. I tried it recently. I hadn't really had halloumi before, but I can't remember who it was, but someone made me try it, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, if you have it at Nando's, wow, blows your mind. But all right, so moving on from cheese. What? All right, no. Why do you ask that question anyway? To every person. I mean, I like it. It's a good question.
It started. I can't remember who it was, but we had a guest trainer in, and someone said, as a joke, we should ask him what his favourite cheese is, and nobody had the guts to ask. Like
good.
Nobody. Everyone looked at each other, saying like, "Who's going to ask? Who's going to ask?" And nobody had the guts to do it. And I went, "Do you know what? I'll do it. Why not?" I'll ask what his favourite cheese is. I can't remember to save my life who it was. I think it was like Johnny Kidd, I think.
Has anybody actually given you a decent answer, or have they just been too shocked?
Most people look at me like I'm an absolute weirdo, if I'm honest. Which is fair enough, I understand that. But, yeah, to be fair, I think absolutely everyone has actually answered the question.
Oh, good.
Yeah, everyone has answered the question. They just kind of look at me puzzled as to why I'm asking about cheese instead of wrestling.
So, what was the very first... I'm going to speak to you, to the fan of you now. Tamera, it's fan time.
Yeah.
So, what was your very first... Can you remember the very first wrestling match you watched? What era it was?
Not at all.
Yeah, I thought everyone could remember their very first wrestling match. But I suppose you've probably watched a lot and been in your own, so...
I have the worst memory ever, which is really not helpful for the podcast. I apologise.
I better scrap the next 22 questions.
Sorry. No, I know that, like, I started getting into it, like, early 2000s. That's when I started kind of watching wrestling. And I can't remember to save my life what my first match was.
What matches stand out to you then? What matches can you remember? That?
This is awful. I have the worst memory.
Any match,
So
Tamera.
awful. I remember, this is really random. It's completely and utterly random. But I remember the year that Edge won the Rumble.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Is that when he was big bearded Edge?
But I remember that. He made like a big return, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a great big, horrible looking beard, and I think that was when he won the Rumble. And then it was against. Then he went to face Del Rio. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't know why, but I always remembered that. I think it's because like I used to have a massive crush on Edge.
Fair enough.
I just remember him like coming in, and I was like, "Yeah, Edge is back!" Woo! And I just never forgot it, even though I forget everything else.
So it was at that moment when Edge came out that you jumped up, hit your head on something, and forgot everything prior.
Pretty much.
So
Pretty much,
all right,
yeah.
So the wrestling of today, then, who's your favourite male and female wrestler of today?
Ooh, usually I would say Sasha Banks, because I absolutely love her. I think she's incredible, even though she does attempt to like harm herself in every match with her crazy dives.
Yeah.
But I also really like Alexa Bliss. I think it's like her character. She's so good with her character work and her promos, and that's like a really big side of wrestling that I really enjoy, like the character and promo side to it, because I do like performing arts as well as wrestling. So like kind of like the acting like side to it, the selling and the characters and the promos is something that I really love.
Yeah.
And I think that Alexa Bliss is someone who I think is absolutely amazing at it. So like she stands out so much, and she's really good at thinking on the spot. Yeah. Like character-wise and like promos, and I think she's someone who I absolutely love at the minute, along with Sasha Banks.
Okay. What about males?
I like Cesaro. I think he's really underused, personally. I think he's extremely talented, and people don't recognise that as they would someone like AJ Styles, who I'm not particularly a fan of, as you mentioned earlier.
Yes, yeah.
But I think that he's very underrated, and I think he's extremely talented in that. People don't realise that as much as they should.
Yeah.
Along with someone like, I would say Sami Zayn, but they've really made a big deal out of the whole underdog thing at the minute, which makes him not as much of an underdog because they keep mentioning the fact that he's an underdog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Sami Zayn's. I haven't liked him since he's come in, really, and I hate the fact of how many times he's faced Kevin Owens. Like it drives me insane the amount of times he's faced Kevin Owens.
And that does wind me up.
So Tamera, I only ask the hard-hitting questions on this podcast. Why do you hate AJ Styles? Why?
I think it's this is going to sound so silly.
Is it his hair?
But my first reason was because of his haircut.
Oh, I knew it.
It winds me up like mad. It absolutely does. It's such an awkward length. It just irritates me. But I think it's also the fact that people big him up so much that it's literally like everyone I talk to, I say, who's your favourite wrestler? AJ Styles. AJ Styles. And I'm like, what about everyone else? Like, everyone else is forgotten about because of AJ Styles. And I think he's just really overrated. Like, he's good, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But because everyone goes insane over him, it just
puts you off.
It takes that attraction away from me.
Okay, fair enough. So, going back to your wrestling now, what are some top tips that you would give people who are currently training at wrestling, and how to become a success and get onto shows, and how to get the name out there?
I would say you have to learn off everyone. That's what I try and do. I take absolutely everything on board. So because everyone has a different perception of wrestling. Everyone has different ways of doing things. For example, there are some people who think that when you throw a clothesline, you should only use your left arm, whereas I know others who use their right.
Yeah. And
it's just kind of taking what everyone does and what everyone teaches you and moulding it into your own moveset and like what you find comfortable. That's what I kind of try to do. So I learn everything off everyone and then go, okay, I like the way you taught me this because that's the way I find it easiest. And then I like the way that person taught me that because that's the way I find it easier. And then kind of just I mould it into what suits me.
Yeah.
And also I'd say if you want to get far with it, I think to start with manners is one of the most important things. We had a seminar with Jules Malone, and she did like a Q&A at the end.
Yeah.
And she was talking to us all about how important it is to have manners and be polite to everyone. You never know who someone's going to become, or you never know who someone knows. For example, there could be someone at Dropkixx now who's just training up, who's just started, and I could be really impolite to that person. So that person could then build up and then end up making it to WWE.
Yeah.
And then they could say to these promoters that, don't book that Tamera. She was really horrible to me. And that's already one person who's not booking me now. And it's kind of, you never know who someone's going to become. And you never know who this person knows. And it's so important to just be polite to everyone. Always be willing to help out with everything, help out with the ring, be polite to the promoters, to the fans, because they're one of the most important people as well. Like, you want to build up a fan base because that's what helps you get far. Just be polite to everyone. It's one of the most important things in wrestling, and I think it's something that people often forget. But I'd say that.
That's a very good tip. Yeah, it's very true. Manners are free as well, so it's not even like you have to pay to get them. They are free. So yes, guys and girls, be polite, please. So talk about your character, Tamera. Then, who's Tamera? What? Tell us a little bit about her as a character.
So my character is like a hip hop kind of dancer, which is bonkers because I can't dance to save my life. Yet somehow I have a dancer gimmick.
Ah, you're okay.
But it kind of stemmed from that whole kind of, like, I enjoyed the fact that I have quite a bubbly, like, upbeat personality, and I wanted to kind of take that and put it into a character that kind of goes out there and she just wants to have a laugh. She wants to go out there and have a laugh with the audience and wants to take the mick out of her opponents if they're being annoying and start dancing in the middle of moves because that is something I would do in real life. And I think, it's just kind of, I just don't like taking it seriously. I have a very kind of comedy gimmick, and I do a lot of like dancing in the middle of things and like taking the mick and laughing, and because I think sometimes people take wrestling way too seriously.
Yeah.
And of course, there are people who have serious gimmicks, which is fair enough. But often comedy gimmicks are looked down on. People often go, I don't want to be a comedy gimmick. I don't want people laughing at me. But often people forget that they're laughing with you.
Yeah.
And that's the fact that you're getting people to laugh and generating that reaction is a positive thing because you want people to react. You want people to look at me dancing instead of locking up and start laughing because that's a positive reaction. And it's also a spot on the card that people want.
Yeah.
Like, when Lucas is booking the shows, he doesn't want every single match to be, like, serious and chain one and then a dive randomly.
Yeah.
He wants those characters that stand out. He'll go, okay, I've got Lewis Barrett who does this, like, heavyweight gimmick and he makes everyone laugh.
Great gimmick.
Not the biggest of guys.
Great gimmick.
Like, it's fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. It's one of my favourite acts on the Dropkixx shows at the minute. And just because he doesn't take it too seriously, because it makes him stand out, the fact that people can just have a laugh with him. And I think that's one of the most important things for me, is just knowing how to work your character and knowing that just because you've got a comedy gimmick doesn't mean you're not a serious wrestler and you don't take, like, wrestling seriously. Of course I take wrestling seriously. I love it and I want to get far with it. But comedy is one of the important things. Is you want to take, like, the fans on a roller coaster, I find it. You want them to have times where they're laughing. You want them to have times where they're happy because you just did a really cool move. And you want them to have times where they're sad because you're being beaten up. Yeah. And I think it's knowing how to get that roller coaster of emotions, because they don't want the same emotion throughout the whole match. I've gone completely off topic.
No, it's good. It's good. This is what it's all about. This is what it's all about, and that's great advice as well, and it's especially for me as well. I mean, what's the future for Tamera then? You're currently Dropkixx Women's Champion. What's the future hold for you?
Yeah. I do have quite a fun storyline coming up soon. We don't reveal too much because spoilers. Okay. But it should be quite funny. One of the storylines I have coming up, which will be with a male, actually.
Yeah.
That storyline coming up.
Oh, even I don't know this. What? You're not going to tell me now? You can't tell me on the show?
You'll find out very soon. It does start at Brentwood.
Okay, well, I'm at Brentwood. 100%. I'm definitely at Brentwood, and I'm definitely going to be there now to find this out. So good.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin too much, but it should be really fun. So that should be good. And hopefully just retaining the belt, really. Hopefully having some new opponents, as I have faced the same people quite a few times, which obviously is a good thing, because that means that as a wrestler instead of as a character, working with the same people, you start to learn each other's movesets, and you start to learn how that person wrestles.
Yeah.
So, like, they know, okay, this is Tamera's comeback, and I know, okay, that's the way they do a beatdown.
Yeah.
And then it makes it so much easier to plan a match, because we just know what each other do already. But I'm looking forward to hopefully having some new opponents and fresh meat to defend my belt against.
And we've got some new girls at Dropkixx as well who are moving up the ranks.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, they're working so hard and they're doing so well. Jess and Kaylee. They're both really, really new to it, but they learn and pick up things so quickly, as do you.
Yep. Thank you.
But yeah, they just...
Nice little plug in there. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah. No, you haven't. You've been improving massively. They've been picking up things really quickly, and I've been working with them. I think both of them, it's just they just need to be a little bit more confident, really.
Yeah.
Because they both second guess themselves quite a bit, but they're both doing so well at the minute, and I'm hoping that if they keep working as hard and building up their confidence, that I should be facing both of them on the show soon, hopefully.
Yeah, no, hopefully. I mean, even Jess, every week, I'm like, am I going to see something this week? Am I going to see something this week? Am I going to see... Because to me, she showed us a little something during the training, and I was blown away by what she showed. So I know she's got it. It's just, but yeah, it's just a case of getting her confidence up and showing that. But I'm sure we'll see it soon.
Yeah, definitely. She's getting more and more confident every week, and doing more and trying more things. It's just trying to get her to kind of perform it in front of everyone. Yeah. What she's learning, just so people can actually see that she is improving.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's doing so well, as is Kaylee as well. They pick up things really quickly, and they haven't been doing it too long either. So. And
it is a daunting thing as well, doing it in front of people. But I know, you get so nervous doing it. But after you do it once and then twice and then 3 times, you kind of look forward to it every week, and you want to do it more, and you realise that it's not actually that bad.
When I first started, I was exactly the same as the way Jess is now, where I just didn't want to show anything in front of anyone. I used to, it's so embarrassing. I used to, when we do the rolls and bumps at the beginning, and we all queue up and do it in front of each other. Yeah. I used to, just before I would stand there on the mat, and then just before it was my go, I'd go, I can't do it.
Yeah. Before
even trying it. I would literally just go, I can't do it, and then I'd disappear off to the toilets because I was too scared.
Yeah.
That's the honest truth. I was way too scared to do it in front of everyone. Everyone used to go, Tamera, come on, just try it. And I was like, I'm too scared. I'm nervous. I was worried that I was going to mess up in front of everyone and embarrass myself. But everyone was so supportive, and they just kept pushing me. And eventually, I did start to join in more, and I started to show things, and I wasn't panicking before everything I did. And, I mean, look where I am now. I'm the women's champion. So it's just the case of kind of getting Jess and Kaylee to just keep pushing them, because I know that they can do it. And hopefully they will get to the point where I am now, where they look back and go, what was I so afraid of?
So, I mean, where can we keep up with you then, Tamera? What's your social media? Have you got pages we can follow?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, my Instagram is Tamera_wrestler, and my Facebook page, I think, is just Tamera. Just Tamera.
I'll put all the links on the podcast information on our Facebook page as well. So
lovely, thank you.
That's okay. Thank you for Tamera. I really appreciate you finding the time and being the very first female on the show as well. Groundbreaking.
That's been an absolute pleasure. Well, thank you for having me.
No, not a problem at all. Well, guys and girls, that is it for this week. Thanks for following my journey. Thanks for listening to this show. And I look forward to wrestling a match with you all soon. Thank you very much, guys. I'll speak to you all next week. Thank you again for listening, and people, I need your help. I would love it if you could pop over to iTunes to leave this podcast a review. Your reviews are so important to me. I need to understand what you think of the show, and it helps just raise awareness for everyone else on this show. And not only that, guys, if you have a friend or a relative who you know is an avid wrestling fan, please point them in this podcast's direction.